This is a 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor, now entering its third generation with a new frame, body, and 5-link rear suspension outside, and a bunch of new screens and tech on the inside. Despite all the new though, the Baja-inspired half-ton still carries on the same path of standing out in a crowd and being the right kind of loud. My name is Robin Warner, an experienced engineer and magazine editor. Pay attention to me! Right here! There are two versions of the Raptor, one with 35-inch tires and now one with 37. The latter is part of a $7,500 package that also includes different wheels, shock tune, Recaro seats, as well as some doodads and graphics. So I suppose that makes this the base trim of the lineup. Silver lining, you do get 18 instead of 16 miles to the gallon on the highway, and you have $7,500 more left over to spend on whatever you want. Besides, both versions get the same twin turbocharged 3.5-liter V6 that produces a peak 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. That power then goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission and onto your choice of the rear or all four wheels. The base price for the 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor is $65,840, and my test car cost $68,805. For those that are interested, I included detailed specifications including dimensions, fuel economy, and options in the description. All right, let's take a look around the car. Check it out, guys. The 2021 third generation Ford F-150 Raptor. Now, this particular Raptor is painted in an orange metallic paint, which they call Code Orange. And just like any other F-150 nowadays, this has a fully boxed steel frame and aluminum body. But unlike other F-150s, this thing is over 7 feet wide, 86.6 inches wide. Wow. That's over 6 inches wider than the last F-150 I drove, and that one is just under 80 inches, so far from narrow. Now, looking at the front, it's got a pretty unique shape compared to other F-150s as well. Obviously, this big Ford across the front grille. It got like scoops and ridges and things in the hood itself. The hood is also very high off the ground because the truck is very high off the ground. You've got these very pronounced tow hooks down here and, you know, that big composite bumper. But this one also has these rigid fog lamps right here. And that's part of the Torsen package, which is $695. And that also adds a 4.1 final drive gear and torsion diff. Now, if you look at the car on the side, you'll see that we have standard issue 35-inch BF Goodrich tires. So no, this is not the 37-inch performance pack that Ford offers, but yes, they are still very, very big and still offer a lot of sidewall and plenty aggressive tread pattern and compound and all the rest. If you look at the truck in profile, you'll see that this is a crew cab truck. All Raptors are now crew cab trucks. All Raptors now have a 145-inch wheelbase. All Raptors are more than 232 inches long. This is just a very big truck these days, and that's just the way it is, right? Looking in back, you get a nice view of the true dual exhaust there and there, and you'll also see the Class 4 trailer hitch, as well as, you know, more tow hooks and those kind of bits. You got a solenoid-driven tailgate here with nice gas struts to give it a nice soft landing. And if you look back over here, we've got 2 kilowatt Power Pro onboard charger right there. So not the big 7.2 kilowatt generator that you can get in the F-150 hybrid, but still, that's plenty to power a lot of stuff. And this also has a spray-on bed liner and all those kinds of bits. Now, normally this is the time I'd say, let's take a look inside, but this is a Raptor. I've never had a Raptor before, and I'm super curious myself. So let's actually take a look underneath the car. First of all, this is a great time to point out that the truck lights up as you approach it. I've got the key in my pocket, so it knows I'm coming, and it lights up to let me know, hey, I'm excited too. Quick look under the hood. There's no massive strut tower braces or anything like that up here, but there's plenty of beefy stuff going on underneath. So first of all, if you look back here, there is your massive 3.1 inch Fox shock right there and double control arms. That lower arm is a super beefy aluminum piece down there, and then you've got this relatively small upper control arm piece right there, but still plenty beefy. And just look at these coil springs. Goodness gracious, that looks like it should be on a freight train. Pretty incredible. And that's a 3.1 inch body for the Fox shock, and the actual shock rod inside is supposed to be a full inch thick. Pretty impressive. And then also down here you can see skid plate, and then just beyond there, skid plate. There's lots of protections underneath the floor of this truck as well. Ford says you have 14 inches of wheel travel here in front. Okay, now moving to the rear and getting properly under the truck. Check out this huge trailing arm. That's not a piece of the frame. That's just a suspension arm there. That's part of the new 5-link suspension here in back. And then you can get another view of the Fox shocks just by looking above the wheel here. And you can see, just look at the distance I have, just to give you a sense of wheel travel here. And if we move to another part of the suspension, you can see the super beefy diff right there, and a big old panhard bar right here. That's part of the 5-link suspension. This also gives you a much better view of the massive coil springs here in back, and of course the full-size spare tire as well. You also, if we look just above the wheel itself, you also have big old Fox shocks right here and new brackets for those shocks. All in all, you get 15 inches of wheel travel in back, so an inch more than in front. You know, those are interesting numbers to say and be able to brag about at the bar or whatever, but to actually see just how beefy this stuff is, all that kind of stuff, is so cool to see. But there's actually something really slick about the exhaust system as well. So I'm going to move to a different part of the floor. This is a true dual exhaust system, and you can see right here, either bank, here's the left bank, here's the right bank, they come together. Obviously the left bank has farther distance to travel, and Ford says no, these are equal length. So to equal the length, the right bank then has what they call a trombone. See, it comes up here and twists around here before they meet again to come to the muffler. So this is a true dual exhaust system, 3-inch thick pipe, and equal length because of this trombone piece right here. And there's also active valves in the exhaust system, so you have 4 different noise levels from this truck. All pretty slick. Also, since we're down here, check out that beefy drive shaft, and there is your 36-gallon gas tank as well. There's your transfer case, and you can see lots of metal protection under stuff as well. So all very, very slick stuff. Anyway, now let's take a look inside the truck. We'll go back to front like I like to do, starting with the back. Yep, it's definitely got a pickup bed. There it is. That is the 5.5-foot bed. That is standard issue on the Raptor. That is the size truck you get. This is a Super Crew, so we'll go to the back seat. Plenty of space, of course. Plenty wide for 3 passengers. Stepping in, I am 5'11" or 181 centimeters tall, and I've got lots of leg room, and in fact a good nice seat bottom for thigh support. You also get a cigarette plug style right there, as well as USB ports down here and AC over there. If there are not 3 of you back here, you do in fact get cup holders. Hey, how about that? And you also, we have this nice thick rubberized floor mat for easier cleaning, those types of things. Moving to the front. First of all, nice big old step right here. Ford Performance, that part's probably pretty obvious. Raptor, also pretty obvious, hard to miss. In fact, you do get decent amount of seat adjustment, fore aft, seat back, and then some lumbar adjustment there. Power windows, side view mirror adjustment, seat memory, power locks, those types of things. You do have an electric emergency brake right here, but you do also have pedal adjustment. That's nice, and not everywhere. So that's nice to be able to adjust the pedals. Here's all your lighting, and you have lights here, as well as a tailgate drop button right here as well. Steering wheel does tilt and telescope, the adjustments right there. And you can see it right here, you do actually have paddle shifters. How about that? Also, we do have secondary storage here, and there is one on the passenger side as well. As I turn the truck on, what's lighting up is a 12.4-inch instrument cluster screen, and then right next to it is a 12-inch center console touchscreen, and that has Sync 4 tied to it, which, among other things, means wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and all that kind of fun stuff. You also have Pro Trailer Control right there, and just beneath that you've got, this is your trailer brake adjustment right here. You know, 2 high, 4 high, 4 automatic, 4 low drivetrain options, and then of course drive modes. You have 7 drive modes in this truck. If I turn it on right here, we start with normal in the middle. If we go to the left, we get sport, tow haul, and slippery. Go back to normal. And if we go to the right, we get deep snow and sand. And then if you switch to Baja, you have to prompt 4-wheel drive and all these other kind of things. And it's off-road use only, sure. And then finally, you can also choose rock crawl. So those are your 7 different drive modes. And then right next to drive modes, you get dual zone climate control with heated seats, cooled seats, the usual options for your stereo, all that kind of stuff. Looking down below, you get this nice slot. This is really convenient for a smartphone. Cup holders, and then over here you get some USB ports. This is a specifically for a smartphone slot right there. And this particular truck has the center console workstation or work table or whatever it's called. I can push this button here, shift lever goes flat, and then right here fold this over, and I've got a nice table. Now in the F-150 hybrid I drove recently, I ate lunch on this thing, and it was easy. It was convenient to do. If we look just above the 12-inch touchscreen, we have, this is your automatic start-stop, turn on and off, hazard lights, and some buttons for stability control and those type of things. This button right here, this is your trail control button and your trail 1-pedal drive button. I'll talk about those just a little bit more in a moment, but these are basically different kinds of cruise control when you're off-roading. And finally, we have this button here. This is your 360 camera button. And you can get a sense of everything that's going on in the truck, and you can choose from different cameras right here. So that's cool to have all those different options. As you can see, the steering wheel has a lot of different buttons on it, but one in particular stands out, and that's this one right here. This is your exhaust mode button right here. So if I press this, I've got 4 different exhaust sounds to choose from: normal, sport, Baja, and quiet. So briefly, let me show you what the different exhaust sounds sound like inside and outside of the cabin. Okay, so we're going to start in quiet mode. Okay, now let's move to normal mode. A little bit throatier, you get a little bit more of that after run pops and those kinds of things. Now sport. You know, again, just a little bit louder than before, but now let's try Baja. Now, first of all, it says off-road use only. Okay. And we'll have to play with that just a little bit while we're on the road as well. Which, by the way, I think it's a good time to do it. Let's go for a drive. Hi everybody. Well, here it is. This loud and proud and big and wide 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor. And right off the bat, I want to admit, look, I'm not an off-roader. Not slow, not fast, not any of it. I fully admit that. But I do really love the technology that goes behind off-road trucks, and I do have a lot of respect for the off-road racing crowd. And for that reason, it's super cool to be in this Raptor and to get like a small sense of what these trucks are like. Because you take something that is fundamentally utilitarian and you make it very, very capable to handle extremely rough terrain and at very high speeds. It's compelling, but it's also kind of a little ironic because this truck I'm in right now, this very special Ford Performance off-roading truck, is actually less expensive than the more standard, you could argue, F-150 I had a little while ago. I had an F-150 Platinum Hybrid, one of the high-level F-150s, but still, the fact that this special edition is less expensive is telling. Also though, the F-150 Hybrid had more torque, 570 pound-feet instead of 510, and this. Now this does have more horsepower, but only by 20, 450 versus 430 horsepower. Now, the standard F-150 obviously was helped by the electric motor, especially with the torque, but still, we live in interesting times, don't we? But in case you're interested in learning just a few more facts about this Raptor, I put a video together earlier when it was just revealed that went over a few different things, and that includes some really cool footage that Ford put together of this thing doing some proper off-roading. So go ahead and click on the link up there to check that out. Okay, we have to talk about the engine. Now, it's kind of a carryover from the last generation Raptor. It's still the 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6, and it still makes a peak 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. But Ford did a lot of work with the engine and the transmission to give you more power more of the time. And indeed, you do get peak torque 500 RPM earlier than before, 3,000 instead of 3,500, and horsepower peak comes 850 RPM later, 5,850 instead of 5,000 RPM. Furthermore, they did work with the transmission on when it shifts and how it shifts so that you get more power more of the time, more torque more of the time. It just behaves a bit better. So in numbers terms, in specifications, you get the same power output, but in real world terms, it will feel faster for you in a lot of different driving situations. Of course, they also came up with that clever new exhaust system that I showed you with the trombone to make sure that the exhaust ports were equal length. And you have 4 different exhaust sound settings currently in sport. So if I give it a nice healthy bump of gas, we get this sound and we get this acceleration, and both are very, very good. I'm in a very big truck and I was accelerating very, very quickly. Oh, it's very, very cool. And that's not even the loudest of the 4 options. That was Sport, not Baja. So we're not off-road, sure, but we're kind of sort of off-road-ish, a little, kind of. Maybe I'll drive just a tiny touch on the shoulder. Okay, now we're in Baja. Let's give it a little bit of throttle again. Oh man, oh man. And that is a nice throaty V6 sound. And furthermore, I just love how soft the suspension is. You actually feel the car settling back just from the acceleration of the truck. Super, super cool. The fact that Ford gave us these different ways to entertain ourselves with the exhaust and also with the steering, with the shocks, all the different drive modes, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun to be able to play with this truck and kind of customize it to whatever driving situation you're in. And I guess we can be adults for a minute. I've now got the truck in quiet mode. And now that it's in quiet mode, it'll be a little bit easier to hear me say that it is still not a V8. But this is a great time to remind you that Ford is coming out with a Raptor R, and that is very likely to have V8 power and a lot of V8 power, maybe turbocharged, maybe supercharged. I'm guessing horsepower is going to start with a 7, and it's going to be very, very good. That's only my guess, but I'm sure that truck will be much more expensive, and it's also in the future. This truck is right now, and actually plenty quick on its own. And of course, that means I have to do a quick little acceleration test, and that means that I'm slowing down, and that means that I'm also putting it back in Baja mode because I want to make some noise. And here we go. So, just a little bit of brake torque. And here we go. Oh man. Man, I really just got flung back. Wow. This is almost 3 tons. This truck is not light. This thing is a very big, very heavy truck. And I just shot to 60 miles an hour in no time at all. wow. And the acceleration was good, the sound was good, and that flexibility, the softness in the suspension, so it just settles back on his rear axle and just takes off. Now, of course, I was in all-wheel drive mode for that, so I had plenty of traction to make use of all 450 horsepower, all 510 pound-feet of torque, and that was very nice acceleration indeed. Okay, the sound could be a little bit better. A V8 would be more satisfying to the ear, but man, good stuff. So, as I mentioned at the top, this truck does not have the 37 performance package, and that is totally fine. I mean, really, that package is just for the people that are very serious about off-roading this, and I think you almost want to start with, you live in the Southwest where you have so much more of that stuff available to you. And also, even with 35-inch tires, this thing is very capable. So why spend an extra $7,500 on something that you're not going to get towards the capability of anyway? And because of all the new tech in this truck, those Fox shocks have electric controls, are adaptable and those kinds of things. And on top of that, you have a bunch of different controls in this truck to help you do off-roading. So this thing has something called trail one pedal drive. So if you're in like proper slow rock crawling type of off-roading, there's a lot of times when you're going 5 miles an hour or slower and you're doing a lot of throttle and brake modulation almost simultaneously. And what one pedal trail does for you is if you fully lift off the accelerator, it will automatically engage the brakes for you. So it allows you to more easily, more seamlessly transfer between throttle and brake and just have a slightly smoother, more comfortable experience if you want to do some rock crawling type of off-roading. To that end, they also have trail control in this truck, which is kind of like a cruise control for off-roading, where you just tell the truck what speed you want to go and it will automatically go that speed. Whether you're going up or downhill, it'll set a speed and it'll get you there. So I actually did a brief demonstration of that in the Bronco Sport. Let me show you that right now. And if you want to see more about the Bronco Sport, you can check this link out right here. All right, moving back to the road. Despite the fact that this is a crazy aggressive looking and crazy fancy shock wearing truck, it is still a truck, and that means it can do truck things. Now, it's less capable than a lot of the other standard F-150s, but you can still haul 1,400 pounds with this thing, payload capacity, and you can tow up to 8,200 pounds. I showed you that Class 4 trailer hitch back there. That is 200 pounds more for both payload and towing than the last generation truck, and that's in part due to the adjustments they made to the rear suspension, as well as the retuning of the engine and the transmission. But because this truck is so capable, despite the fact that I don't have much of any off-roading experience, I did try just a little bit of off-roading. Let me show you that right now. Okay, here we are. Got this tiny little off-road test going on. Set up a couple of cameras and let's just see how this thing goes. Well, that was really easy. That was nothing. Oh man, that was painfully easy almost. Just a taste, right? Just a little something to see what that feels like. I mean, obviously it's not much, but it was super cool to give it a try. Anyway, I'm Robin Warner. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are still watching, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video and subscribe to my channel. Those things really do help me out a lot. Okay, goodbye. Oh, I'm being quiet. I'm not making enough noise. Switch that. Much better.